I met, oh, there's a
Sorry.
recording, sorry about that. No worries. I met some of you last month in the last CD6 meeting, but it's exciting to be back. And I'm running for our new State House District 42, which sits inside of the new District 4, which I know Joseph's here to talk about a bit, and District 5 as well. I grew up in Otsego. I've spent a lot of my time living in the area, went from Otsego to Plainwell to Parchment, because my parents were divorced when I was young. And now I live in Parchment. I own a home here and with my wife, and we moved back to the area during COVID since we had the opportunity to work remotely. So it's been a really exciting time to get back into the community. Our campaign's just getting started. We'll be hosting our official launch party on March 10th. I'll be sending out links actually later this afternoon or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, to start inviting folks to come and join. We're looking for a couple more host committee members, so there'll also be an appeal for that. The other piece of this, we just started launching really soft fundraising at this point and dialing those close contacts. At this point, we've got over $5,000 in the bank and pledged. So we'll be moving on that and continuing to fundraise as we go. This campaign is going to be all about local issues around water quality, air quality, and healthcare. My dad was one of the 1 in 10 uninsured folks in Michigan when he lived here before he passed away, and he died with medical debt from going to some of our local hospitals without having health coverage of any kind. And I want to make sure that no one else has to face that exact same kind of, burden when it comes to medical debt and avoiding care going forward. I'm a healthcare policy wonk by training, so that's the world that I come from and where I draw my expertise. Also a former union member from SEIU, and really excited to work with labor and other folks in the area to build this movement and win this campaign. Give us one more seat. Super excited to work with you all.
Awesome. Thanks for that introduction. Really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Justin? Mark.
Justin, so you're fundraising already. You have filed for office, right?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Oh, that's taken care of. Good, good, good.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, last time we talked, I hadn't even started filling out the paperwork yet. So at this point, it's been a month of getting caught up and getting everything filed, the ducks in the row, and making sure I've got the right legal stuff set up too.
Awesome. Any other questions for Justin? I don't see any. Thank you so much for your time, Justin. Really appreciate you being here. You're more than welcome to stay on the meeting if you wish, since you're one of our district members.
Justin, I have a question.
Sure,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Have you been in touch with the Hispanic caucus? Because they would like to support our candidates.
I have not yet. I'd love to talk with them. That'd be wonderful.
Do we have your info?
I'll put it right here in the chat so that we can make that nice and easy.
And I'll send an invite.
Wonderful.
Oh,
That'd be
good.
great.
Yeah, and you can
Thank you.
see all of the contacts for the caucuses on the Michigan Dems website.
Awesome. That's great. I'll send them an email today, and then I would also appreciate the connection. It'd be awesome.
Excellent. Cool. And we've got Mitchell here joining us too. Okay, cool. Well, thank you again for your time. Really appreciate this morning. And please feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting. Joseph, I see you too. If you'd like to introduce yourself, give us a little bit about your campaign.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Joseph Alfonso, running for the new 4th Congressional District. I am originally from the South Bronx. My wife is from the Zeeland area. And after my wife and I both got out of the Marine Corps, we decided to move back here to West Michigan. And I've been loving it ever since 2015. Right now, we're still getting rolling. Have some fundraiser events we're setting up. I've been doing a lot of footwork, as Justin and Tim and maybe a few others know. I have been all over the district and doing my best to make sure I'm being seen. One of the other things is getting endorsements that I've been working on as well. I'm doing an event next month with Vote Common Good. We'll be speaking here in Holland. And the biggest thing for us right now is making sure to keep getting the name out and try to reach the areas that is going to be more difficult for us to reach. So I can go to multiple places as much as I physically can and get more and more volunteers. So the more volunteers, the better. That's going to be our biggest thing. We're still fundraising as well, having our first official fundraising event next week here in Holland, and we're going to try to host, one more here in Holland, and then about 4 in Allegan, 4 Van Buren, and so on. We're going to keep trying to do multiple events in each area. That way we can cover a lot of ground. A little bit about me, I have a background in a lot of fields, military, private, public sector. I was a banker, loan officer for a while. I was in skilled trades for a while. And I just realized that after, growing up and seeing the concept, the lesser of two evils, it was unacceptable to me. So now that's where we're at. We're getting a lot of steam. We got the help of also the Michigan High School Democrats. They're going to be creating an entire network of high school kids to help volunteer. And I'm trying to connect with Vote Vets. Jamario Eddy is over with the MDP. He's reached out to the Hispanic Caucus on behalf of me, but I'm going to reach out to them directly as well. So we're just rolling. I'm ready for the work. I've been doing the work, and I'm making sure to do the right things as well.
So I have a question for Joseph as well. Have you started collecting nominating petition signatures yet?
We have been. We have a number of people helping out with that. Everyone from Joey Andrews down in Berrien to a few people here in Ottawa. Joe Spalding's helping me out as well. He helped with the Independent Redistricting Commission. So Joe Spalding's been a really big help. So we're getting a lot of steam with the signatures. We're getting close to my personal goal of 4,000 signatures, just to make sure that there's any other, challenges or the signatures don't verify correctly. So we're getting pretty far in our signature gathering.
You're getting close to 4,000.
Close. That's my personal goal. Even though we only need 1,000, but
Right. Well, you're thinking you're way ahead of good work.
Yeah, I'm relentless. When I have my mind set on it, I don't stop until it's complete.
I just was going to bring up, I may as well say, out in the open, I'm not aware of any other candidates for the 4th. I don't know if any have announced. So if you are the one that we know of, then I'm ready to sign and get signatures. But you're way ahead of where I thought it might be. So great.
Yeah, I'm pretty, I haven't been doing these big events as, most candidates would. I'm trying to do all the nitty gritty stuff, make sure the name's out first, get the endorsements out first. That way, when the filing deadline passes, it's a lot easier for people to come on board and say, oh, well, they got the signatures, he's got the endorsements already in. I have met with all of the previous candidates from previous campaigns for the 2nd and 6th districts. Besides, I think Matt Longjohn, but Matt Longjohn's not running from what I understand as well.
Correct.
But I'm doing all of that stuff first and just kind of putting together everything everybody did right and try to throw it into ours.
Awesome. I see 2 hands. Tim, I think yours was up first.
Yes, I just was going to ask Joseph, have you taken any of your petitions over to the our headquarters office?
I did. I dropped off about 300 signatures worth of petitions about a few weeks ago, and I come in every once in a while to see where it's at, and it went from like a stack this big to a stack that big.
Yeah, because people are taking them to get the signatures. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't forget that in your process of getting ready.
That was the first stop, Tim.
Okay.
Awesome. Mike, I saw your hand too.
Yeah, Joseph, I'd like to throw in my support and also like to get you in touch with the Veterans Caucus because I'm a member of both the Veterans Caucus and Hispanic Caucus. So
Yeah, that'd be greatly
I
appreciated.
don't see an email on your stuff, but I got your Twitter and your Facebook.
I put in the
Well,
email in the chat now. Our
Thanks.
website's going to be launching on the 28th. I hired an actual website designer because it'd be a lot better looking than if I did it. So that should be on the 28th is our goal. It'll be far more detailed, all our contact information, and I'm going to put that in the chat as well for when it launches.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, Joseph, for being here, for giving us your campaign pitch. Appreciate your time. Best of luck. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting as well. Any other questions before we keep going? Awesome. Seeing none, I will go to the next part of our agenda. So it looks like we still don't have quorum, by my math at least. We need, I think, more person to show up. But if we want to just go ahead to officer reports.
Eleanor,
yes.
Eleanor, Mitch Robinson joined the meeting. If you
Okay.
want to.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes,
Introduce himself, that'd
absolutely.
be great.
Mitch,
We need
please.
4 or 5 counties.
We need a majority of counties, and then we need a majority of the rest of the executive committee, which out of, I think we have 16 members, because nobody's quit to my knowledge. So the list is that I have is still accurate. We only have 7 people, so we need 8 to have 50%.
Okay,
I
I
think
did
we need
reach
to
out to
vote.
Amy Sprima and Kathy Greaves. I'm trying to figure out if Kathy's still the chair of the St. Joe Dems, so.
I was unsure about that as well.
And I'm messaging with Beth Bird too about the Battle Creek contingent, but I know they're not part of our quorum, but we still need them.
Right, we absolutely do. So Mitch, please introduce yourself. Let us know about your campaign. We'd love to hear more.
Well, thank you. I didn't mean to ambush your meeting, but my friend Mr. Catherman sent me a link. So at the risk of being rude here, I'm running for the one vacant seat on the State Board of Education. Cassandra Ulbrich, who has served as the president of the board in the past, is stepping down or stepping away. And she and Pam Pugh, who's the current president, and Ellen Kogan-Lipton, who's on the board as a former state rep, I believe, have asked me to run for this vacant seat. I've been in discussions with both of the teachers' unions in the state. We're trying to work together on putting some ideas together. I'll just tell you a little bit about me because it's not very exciting. I've been teaching here at Michigan State for about the last 20 years. I was chair of the music education department for about 8 or 9 of those years. I've also taught at the University of Connecticut and the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. I was a high school band teacher for 10 years. I also taught kindergarten music, and I coached the girls and boys junior varsity basketball teams, and I was assistant principal for a year, all the things you do when you work in a medium-sized school district. I moved into higher education, and I've been at MSU in the music education department for about the last 19 or 20 years. My scholarly interest is in education and public policy. So I've served on a number of editorial boards. I've edited a couple of different journals. I've done some research on mostly teacher evaluation and frankly, how broken teacher evaluation is, not just in Michigan, but across the country. And I've also been writing for Eclectablog for about the last 6 or 7 years. Started writing things about just education, and then eventually branched out into politics as well. I'm interested in politics, and I believe that policy and politics are kind of intertwined, and it's hard to pull them apart. I also believe that although I think most of us don't want education to be political, that virtually everything you do as a teacher is a political act. And ignoring that, we do at our peril, especially the decisions that we decide not to teach or not to make. So my goal in running for the State Board of Education is that I believe that public education, like a lot of public institutions, is under attack right now. I think that our kids deserve a high quality education, and that's all kids, not just kids that happen to grow up in the suburbs. All children deserve a high quality education. And obviously I'm biased. I think that includes music and art and phys ed and languages and everything, not just third grade math and reading test scores. So I'm an advocate for a full and rich and comprehensive education. And I also believe that our colleagues in the schools need to be defended. Public school teachers are working for the common good. And it drives me nuts to see all these attacks about made up issues, critical race theory and furries in school bathrooms. It's all nonsense. It's all made up issues, because my belief is that our opponents on the other side of the aisle don't have any political positions about education that are worth defending. So they're distracting and they're throwing chum in the water by coming up with stuff that just doesn't matter. So that's essentially why I'm interested. I think it's time for me to put my mouth is. I've been telling people for a long time what I think should happen, and I've been writing about it. And as Rick can tell you, I'm not shy about saying what I think. And I just decided this is the time. When I was approached, I thought it was the time to kind of step up and take my put my power and privilege really where it will do the most good. So again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ambush your meeting. I know you've got more important things to talk about. I'm happy to answer any questions. I see Mr. Smith has his hand up.
Go ahead.
I feel like I'm back in class.
Yeah, I'm waiting to be recognized by the chair, though.
Oh, please, go ahead.
See, I'm a process guy. First off, there's a lot of good qualities in what you just said, Mitch. I appreciate that. And I work my day job, I work with MEA. So,
oh, great.
Yeah. But my question to you, though, is what's your thoughts around this whole nationwide campaign around banning books? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a couple of things about it. I think the larger kind of overriding issue is that we're seeing school board meetings. My wife is the union building rep in her school district. And I think we're seeing a lot of school board meetings that are being kind of overtaken and dominated by a very small but very loud group of people, often that don't live in the school district. And they're coming up with issues that are strangely coordinated across the country. And I don't really have, I guess the bottom line is, my belief is that the vast majority of parents out there are very supportive of public schools that their kids attend. All the research indicates that. Pew Research polls put support for public education at about 70 to 80%. So I think what we're seeing is a well-coordinated kind of attack about issues like book bannings, critical race theory, furries, whatever the issue du jour is, because they don't really have anything positive to say about schooling. I think the other nefarious thing behind the book bannings and all the other issues is that it's really a concentrated attack on public education to try to defund, demoralize teachers, and move public tax dollars out of public education into vouchers and support for private schools and religious schools, which A, is against the state constitution, B, has been voted down in this state twice by a 70 to 30% margin, and D, is just kind of a zombie education policy that just won't seem to die in this state, mostly because of Betsy DeVos. The book bannings, I think, are a particularly vile kind of piece of evidence or anecdote about this whole conservative attack on public education. But in our history as a country, every time books have been banned, it's a sign of fear from the folks that are doing the banning. The other thing is that we live in the internet age. All you have to do to make a book popular is to ban it, and kids will find it on the internet. So it's a really poorly thought out policy. It's not going to work. It's going to backfire, but it's still really disappointing to see it happening in so many places.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mitch while he's here?
Hey, Mitch, I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if you can, on March 9th, I'd like to invite you to the Ottawa County Dems monthly meeting. And you can introduce yourself to the folks that I represent.
Great. I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Tim.
Please come to CAS. Cass County. Well, love to have you.
Mhm. So unfortunately, since we don't have a quorum, we can't vote on endorsement. However, I'll keep it on the agenda for the next meeting that we have because obviously you've spent the time to come and speak with us. Really appreciate it. Yeah, any other questions before we go on with our agenda?
Thanks again, Eleanor. Again, I apologize for ambushing
No.
you all. Didn't mean to do that, and I hope I didn't waste too much of your time.
Now,
No,
Mitch, I need,
absolutely.
so before the meeting started, Eleanor mentioned, Mitch, that she'd gotten a message from you. And then she said, well, go ahead and contact him if he's available this morning. So no ambush at all, my friend. You
Well,
were,
I'm not trying to throw you under the bus either, Rick, although that is one of my fun things to
All
do
right.
on a regular basis, but.
Yeah, I received your email last night and I didn't see it until like 11:30 and I was like, well, I could invite him to the meeting at 10 in the morning, but I don't know like if he's asleep or what. So
No,
no worries. I'm glad that you can make.
we have 2 sons and a dog. We're not asleep.
I know that feeling because I just had a baby. So yeah,
Oh my
solidarity.
Okay, you win.
Okay. It's not the struggle Olympics, but I appreciate that.
No.
Awesome. So we'll just keep going on with our agenda. Like I said, we don't have quorum. So officer reports, I don't have much to report. There's been a lot of communication, obviously, about redistricting. From the MVP, it's still kind of up in the air how we're supposed to handle this. Their consensusly has just been sort of like, go forward with the election as if you are the new district. You can make subcommittees and all of that, but you can't market yourself as the new district until we've actually had the elections next year in February. So we're still kind of, we are, but we aren't, which is why we've invited Tim and other people from our other counties who are joining our district to these meetings because it's important to hear their voices and their opinions, even though unfortunately we're still not allowed to let them vote, which is kind of, that stinks. But yeah, that's the best we can do at the moment. It's not really clear what we're supposed to do about our financial issues. For those of you who may be unaware, we've obviously been behind in filing for our financial stuff. We're facing some fines from the Federal Election Committee. We're trying to get that sorted out, but because of the backlog due to the pandemic and other things, we haven't heard from them to get that straightened out yet. So we're kind of in limbo. We don't know exactly what will happen when we take that vote on February, if that's not been sorted out yet. I don't know. We don't have the information to continue with that yet. So that's really all that I've got on my plate at the moment. Just a lot of redistricting stuff, hearing from candidates, which is great. So I'm really glad that we could get you guys invited in here today. Yeah, that's it. Any questions? No? Okay. The treasurer isn't here. I did not receive a report from Ken on that, but I'm assuming, again, because of our financial information, we haven't spent any money. We haven't received any money to my knowledge. Thanks, Mitch. Have a great afternoon. Really appreciate your time. Mike, I see your hand.
Yes, I just want to re-emphasize the fact that we have not endorsed any candidates, and that when we post something on Facebook for a candidate, it's not an endorsement. We're trying to identify our candidates. We had some grief because we posted about candidacies for our new Lakeshore district, and I want to make sure everybody knows that no slights were intended, and we want to always let any new candidates know that we'll give them an introductory post on our platforms.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's sort of equal opportunity at this point. No endorsements yet. So being said, if you are a candidate and you would like to be featured on our Facebook page, it's open forum. Anybody can be on there. Let us know. Yeah, thank you for that, Mike. That is a very important distinction. Okay. So like I said, I didn't receive a report from the treasurer. Anyone else want to provide a report? Rick?
absolutely. I can give a quick report from the Candidate Recruitment and Campaigns Committee. We met this morning. There were Helen Goings from Allegan. Naomi is on the meeting still, I think, as well. Attended the meeting. Doug Cultra is the Van Buren County rep to the committee. Myself, and then Jamario Eddy was able to join us as well and give us a little bit of an update in regards to MDP, which was great. Just a couple of highlights. One of the things that the group has done is we are creating a document, a Google document to share in terms of redistricting now, the candidates that we are aware of in each of the House districts, Senate districts, CD4 and CD5. And then the individual county reps are going to put together a list for their county in terms of school board candidates, all the local races. And so that's a document that we've started to create. We have several names on there already. I'm not going to go through them all right now. I can share that information if you want, or if anybody has any specific information. I will tell you that we did discuss Bart Goldberg, who is the Democrat in the 5th Congressional District, who has, and I don't know if it's been an official announcement yet, but lives in New Buffalo, former Chicago resident and attorney. He and his wife apparently moved to New Buffalo. And so that's when we spoke about specifically. But we're hoping that that Google document can be valuable to the entire 6th Congressional in terms of being a resource, I guess. And then people can add names as we become more aware of candidates. And I'm going to is Jill still there? Is Jill there? I'm going to let Jill talk about it a little bit, but Helen referenced a book or a new publication called Democrats 101. And I'm interested to know I know Jill has read it, I believe, but wondering if anybody else is. So I'm going to let you talk about that because you're more familiar with it when we get to that, when you get to your report, if you want to talk about that a little bit. But our committee is all of us are going to get that book and read through it and then discuss it a little bit. And then the other thing on our agenda, well, first of all, everybody that was on the meeting, Helen does terrific work in Allegan, provided a lot of information that we were able to discuss. School board is a concern in Allegan County, especially in Plainwell, the community of Martin, the Republicans, the more conservative extreme right in terms of sabotaging school board elections. That's something that they're aware of in Allegan County. The other thing that was interesting that Helen shared is both of the Republican candidates that have announced for the 78th House District and the 79th House District both attended the January 6th insurrection. They were in DC that day. She shared that information with us. We started to talk about candidates for the state Supreme Courts. The other thing that I'll let Jill share more information about what's going on in Allegan. And then Naomi can share her information as well from Cass County, talked about county commission seats that they're focused on. There's an appeal in terms of the new county commission map there that I'll let her address a little bit more. And then Doug Cultra from Van Buren County has put together some data analysis in terms of all the way down to city township level in terms of the presidential election, the most recent 2020 presidential election in terms of votes for Trump or Biden, in terms of helping us maybe to focus and be maybe a little more optimistic in Van Buren County in terms of what we achieve and the opportunities that are there in terms of that redistricting has kind of provided for us. And then we're going to try to we'll meet again regularly. I always am enthused by the input from the folks that attend those meetings. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thanks, Rick. Any questions for Rick? I see none. Awesome. Thank you again for that report, Rick. Really appreciate your hard work and your committee's hard work. Let's keep going on our agenda. We may as well just go ahead to elected official reports. So any elected officials wish to provide a report? Mark?
Well, yes, I guess I'd like to talk about initiative. And I'm not clear, and I see Corey's on the call. I don't know if he might know something about some of these. I did a search and I found all of these are making the MI, my Michigan pun, right? So there's rank my vote, and that's for ranked choice voting. Empower my vote. I don't know what that's about. Protect my vote, secure my vote. That's the bad one that we're telling people decline to sign. And my right to vote. Now, I found references to these, but it's not clear which of these are active in the field and have, well, I don't know. I'm sure it's clear to the State Board of Canvassers, which have approved petition language to be out in the field. But this is a huge number of groups that have various agendas concerning our rights to vote in Michigan. And I'd love to see MDP come out with a guide to all of these, because I haven't had time, frankly, to chase down each of these, but it sure is a lot of them.
Mark, I shared a link to Bridge Michigan's ballot issues tracker. That's got everyone that's been approved or is in approval process. So that'll help people try and figure out what's going on, because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. That's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark?
Yeah, I've got a question real quick. Mark, are you that, because Berrien County put together, Melissa Clapper put together a real thorough in terms of the petition or the ballot initiatives that are out there. Is Amy on the meeting? I don't know if I see Amy. And Mike, is that the one you were referencing? That document?
What document were you talking about?
It just says 2022 possible ballot proposals, and it lists secure, protect, MI vote, promote the vote, Michigan right to vote, Michigan right to vote, voters for change. National.
It's got all the ones they know of right
Perfect.
now, and gives them a brief summary of where they're at and what they're doing.
Thanks. Yep, that should be it then, Mark. That should be the information that I got. That was all. Thanks.
Jill, I saw your hand. Did you have a question?
Not a question, just a elected official.
Oh, go ahead.
Anybody else have a question for Mark? Okay.
I don't see any.
So I just wanted to, I think I mentioned this possibly last month, but we are seeing in Allegheny County a very concerted and intentional effort to get slates of Republicans to run for the school board, to try to take over the school board, especially in places like Plainwell, where we have 4-year terms and 4 people the 4 seats are on the ballot this fall. I think we're going to be okay, but we cannot sit back and just assume that, that we're going to be okay. I don't think there is support to get those people elected in Plainwell unless the people who think everything's just hunky-dory just don't bother. So it's really just about making sure that we get people to pay attention and vote. And so luckily we had a person appointed recently, and she's awesome. So we had several people apply. I think we had at least 7. Yeah, I think it was 7 people applied. They were all, I would say capable. There were a couple of there was one guy who I would consider on the extreme end of things. There were a couple of conservatives that I don't consider to be extreme. And we just had a lot of really quality candidates. So, so there are good people interested in running, but everybody needs to be paying attention to their school board. Everybody needs to know who's on their school board. And, in a town like Plainwell, in a community like Plainwell Schools, I think our school is the biggest employer in the area. It's a large organization with a lot of money, and so we need to make sure that we've got the right people at the helm. So everybody, I am begging you to please find out who's on your school board and make sure that who's running for your school board are who we need to be leading.
Thank you, Jill. That's an extremely good point, especially to the topics that Mitch mentioned, that people are trying to hijack our school board meetings for nefarious purposes. It's not a good thing. Yeah, we need more support for our schools and our school boards in general. Any questions for Jill? No? Okay, cool. Any other elected officials that I missed that need to provide a report or wish to provide a report? I don't see any hands. Cool. Onward. So we should just go ahead to the report of counties. Jill, you're top of the list, so please go ahead if you've got anything to report.
Okay. Well, we had our kickoff for our opportunity tour on February 8th. We had Joseph was available via Zoom. Justin was there in person, as was Austin. And no, Justin was there in person, or I mean, Joseph was there in person. What am I saying? So Larry Jackson out of Holland, who's running for the House in Holland and Lake Township, he was there on Zoom. Joey was there on Zoom. And we had probably 8 to 10 people at the Plano Library. So I think it was good. We did a phone bank the week before the meeting, and we ended up reaching out to 100 people. Justin and his campaign manager joined Austin and I, and we had some good conversations. We've identified some new supporters, and that went really well. So I'm really excited about the opportunity tour, because I think just mixing it up and bringing the meetings to the different communities is going to be a big plus. In March, we're going to be at Isabel's Market in Saugatuck, featuring the new House District 38, which is an exciting thing for Southwest Michigan, because it will be the 3rd Democrat to represent Southwest Michigan, because we will be winning this seat. So Joseph's planning to be there, I'm pretty sure. We've invited Larry to come so that we can introduce him to the Lake Township folks. We still don't have a candidate for 43, which is the majority of Allegan County. And we have a total of 6 House districts that Allegan County is part of. So let's see, Austin's campaign's going really well. He's partnered with Justin. I'm really excited for the opportunity and the synergy between Sean McCann and Justin, because that's almost a complete overlap, and there's going to be some great synergy there. We do have a school board event. Our meeting in April is going to highlight the school board service. Austin and I are going to be taking questions about serving on the school board. We're going to do the Michigan Association of School Board presentation about Get On Board, which is the presentation they put to explain about school board service and how to run and whatnot. It's going to be at the Allegan Tech Center on filing day, April 19th. Just hours after the filing deadline. So we will have Zoom available that night, and you can reach out to us for the link, but we won't be posting it on Facebook. The other thing I just want to share with you all on a personal note is that I am starting officially on Monday as the new project manager for broadband expansion in Allegan County. I'm working for Allegan County government, and I'm super excited to be heading up that effort, and I think it's going to be exciting. And then the last thing I want to talk about is what Rick said about the book. So the book is called Democrats 101. I remember being excited about Don't Think of an Elephant, which was a good book, but I don't feel like anything came out of it. So I really like this book. I don't know that it's the panacea we are all hoping for, but I think it does a really good job of pointing out that Democrats have a habit of wanting to talk about policy, and that is like a dead end. And it's fine to love policy, it's fine to be knowledgeable about policy, but when you're talking to voters, you need to talk about values. You need to talk about platform values mostly. Is there another word that they used? Prime directive was discussed in the book. And then the other big thing that I got out of it, which I am just ecstatic about, is how detrimental the us them trap is to the Democrats. It works great for the Republicans. They have succeeded over the last almost 6 years in completely dividing the country over lies. And every time they play the us them card and we join the game with them, we lose and they win. We cannot play the us them game. And I don't know, I don't have any hope that the state party or the DNC is going to stop playing that game, because it seems to be the only way they know how to raise money. Fear is a very big motivator, but fear is never going to help Democrats win, ever. It goes against our prime directive. It goes against who we are and what we believe about the world and humanity. And it is never, ever going to win for us. So I just love how they really fleshed that out. I mean, I would say half of the book is about why us them is a losing proposition. So I would encourage everybody to get it. If you buy it on Kindle, it's like $4.99 and you can start reading it immediately like I did. If you like a paper book, they're about $10 or $11 from Amazon. And I think that we should, after everybody's read it, we should maybe even have a little kind of retreat, maybe like a morning at the library for 3 hours, where we actually kind of talk about it. I think we should probably, we might even want to, I don't remember that guy's name. I loved him to pieces, that guy that Paul brought in to work with us. Remember him, Mark and Eleanor? The guy that had the clickers. He would be a great one to facilitate a discussion. Because I think if we as a Southwest Michigan were to create some planks about what we believe, that's another word, values and beliefs, like what do we believe, and keep it at that level and stop trying to play, you know, you're wrong because you think this or that, and just say, hey, look, we all want, you know, XYZ. And we had to figure out what that is. And I do think that we need a one pager, but then we need to boil it down into some bullet points that we can be aligned on. And if we can, and you know, we've been talking a lot about messaging and needing a message. The other thing that he talks about in this is he said that you can't expect the message to come from the top down. You have got to develop it at the bottom. And it's a grassroots kind of messaging. And you know, you can read his reason to why he thinks that. You may think that it should come from the top down, but you know, how long have we been waiting for it to come from the top down, and it's not going to happen, people. So I do think that to the extent that we as a group in Southwest Michigan, all the House candidates, all the Senate candidates, all the county commissioner candidates, you know, maybe even some extent the school board candidates, if we can kind of coalesce around a message and then reinforce that message in all of our campaigns and all of our interactions, I think it will really help to begin to allow us to define ourselves instead of letting the Republicans define us. So that's the end of my commercial. Anybody have any questions?
Go ahead if you do, feel free.
It's Mike. Oh no, that's Mike's cat. Not just.
I thought it was Mike's hand too.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to offer not so much kind of a question, but also maybe a resource. I met this guy named Drew Weston who wrote The Political Brain, which was published back in the 90s. I think in 96, talking about using emotion and thinking through values and emotional connections in the brain first and foremost for messaging. And he's in DC now, and we got to know each other a few years back on some consulting work that he was doing. I've been thinking about reaching out to him anyway. I've been re-listening to his book. It's not a quick read. It's a 900-page book, so it's not fun to pick up and read, but you can listen to it on Audible. And I was thinking about reaching out to him anyway for the campaign. If folks would be interested, I could ask him if he'd be willing to sit down with us and talk through some of his concepts and knowledge and bring it to all of us for thinking about this message. I don't think we could fly him in for a retreat, but we could have him Zoom in or something.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I was thinking, we used to meet at the Paw Paw Library, but now Allegan is the center of CD4. How exciting is that? So we have a fabulous tech center, and they have an auditorium that holds 106 because I counted all the seats. It's this, the raised seating lecture hall type seating with a platform and a projector. We've done meetings there before, and it's very Zoom compatible. So, we could think about maybe having a meeting there. That would be a good venue. And so,
Do you know if it costs any money or?
no, as long as you're a nonprofit, it doesn't cost any money.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember they had a nice smaller meeting room too, which would probably work better for our general meetings, but
Mhm.
that's a great point. Because yeah, we
Yeah,
need
and
to we need to find a new meeting venue eventually.
Yeah, and the other place that would work fine for these meetings is the Allegan Library has a room called the Carnegie Room, and it's also free for and then at the City of Plainwell, which would probably be even better. City of Plainwell Ransom Library has a huge, beautiful room that would work great for our meetings. In fact, that would be my number one choice, would be the Plainwell Ransom Library. Because it's really, and it's about halfway, and it's close to 131, which makes it more accessible to people.
That's true. That's a good consideration. Yeah,
And it's
we'll
a
have to.
brand new
figure this out.
library with a
Oh, yeah.
beautiful view of the river. It's gorgeous.
That would be really nice. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we'll need to write down those ideas once we figure out when and if we go back to in-person meetings after this whole pandemic thing is finally over. Any other questions for Jill? Any other elected officials? I don't see anybody else. And that was technically the Allegan County report anyway. Okay. I do not see Berrien. Naomi, did you want to give a report for Cass? You're still muted.
Okay. Jill, your conversation is very interesting because we do have a candidate for the 5th congressional district. Who's going to run and take on the brave act of running in this totally red district. But I've met with him several times, but the first time he met with us, he didn't talk about policy. He said, I'm not going to talk about policy. I'm going to talk about values. I'm going to talk about, the local issues, but especially, values and the threat to our democracy. And then immediately, some good Dems in our group had to revert to talking about policy. So they wanted to know what his policies are. Well, he has lots of positions on policy, but that's not what's going to win this, this district or make any dent in this district. So I think he's absolutely right when he says he's going to talk about values. So anyway, this is his name is Bart Goldberg. He lives in New Buffalo. He's, one of those people who's crossed the pond to come and live in our district. He's going to need a lot of support. The new 5th district chairs have been meeting. We've met twice via Zoom. And we have, I don't know if we actually set a date for a 3rd meeting, but we'll be meeting again soon. We're just having conversations, trying to get to know each other. We're not taking any actions to organize ourselves or anything like that. We've met with Bart. So we'll see where it goes, but we at least are in the talking stages. Here in Cass, the only elections that we have, other than the occasional school board election, which as far as I know, Cass has not had any we haven't seen any effort to take over our school boards, but I am going to be checking on all of them. We only have commissioner seats, county commission seats to focus on locally. And we're having a hard time recruiting candidates. So that's the challenge before us. We do have someone who has challenged our county commission map that was adopted. We made it past the first hurdle. 3-panel judge read the briefs and said, voted 2-1 to move it forward. So second briefs have been filed and we're now waiting for the Court of Appeals to set a date. I'm hoping we go to oral arguments, because I think we have a pretty feisty lawyer on our side. So we'll see. But that's about all I have to report from Cass.
Any questions for Naomi? Thanks, Justin. Really appreciate your time. I don't see any questions for Naomi. Thanks, Naomi, for your report. Really appreciate it. Mariah, if you're still with us, did you want to give a report from Kalamazoo?
Yeah, happily. I'm still with you guys. I am
Good morning.
made a phone bank right now this morning as well. So forgive me.
Awesome.
But hey everyone. So before I forget, there are a couple people who prior to the redistricting maps being finalized, we're planning to run for the old MI6. You know, that of course waiting to see how it goes. From the Kalamazoo area. I'm working to circle back with them, and they're still trying to decide if they're going to, given the new map, run in the 4th Congressional District. They were pretty hell-bent on running regardless of what happened, so not sure why they have kind of gone dormant at this point, working to figure out what their plan is, just so everyone knows, because it's kind of a shock not to hear from any candidate in Kalamazoo running for Congress. Everyone usually seems to want to jump up and do that. So there is that, potentially 2 more people running for that seat. I have done my best to kind of redirect them elsewhere, just because they are new candidates and I think their strengths lie elsewhere. So we'll see. Obviously, we don't really want a Democratic primary in this district as much as we can avoid it. But we'll see what comes of that. Apart from that, like Naomi said, I've been sitting in on the new CD5 meetings. Kalamazoo has 4 townships. The southernmost portion of Kalamazoo County is in the 5th Congressional District. I met with Bart Goldman, and then we had a phone conversation. We've got a meeting next week to kind of talk about what is going on with him. He needs a lot of help, so trying to get him there. And then locally, of course, we have our new county commission map. We have candidates we're trying to get filed who are incumbents. I think they're still trying to figure out if they're going to run for commission or do something else, because there are a couple places where there's overlap in the districts. We're doing tons of fundraising. We are trying desperately to fill both our candidate recruitment committee chair position and our membership chair position. We've been vacant on both of those for a while. We just got a new treasurer, so there's a lot of shift in the Kalamazoo Dems party. And then this summer, we are working to do a membership drive, like a door-to-door knockathon style, you know, promote some strong Dem lit and do all that to expand our membership. And we also are doing a candidate recruitment breakfast coming up here at the end of March prior to the filing deadline to hopefully fill some of those vacancies and those you know, precincts. I looked at our precinct delegate list from last cycle, and we only had 12 out of 108 precincts that were represented for precinct delegates, which is just terrible. So really trying to build from the bottom up. I mean, of course, Sean's running in the 19th district. We're looking for someone in the 18th district because that includes 2 townships in Kalamazoo County, one of which is in the 5th Congressional District and one of which is in the 4th Congressional District. And And then Julie Rogers and Christine Morse, of course, are running for re-election. Both seemingly so far are unprimaried, and hope it stays that way. And I think that's it out of Kalamazoo.
Thank you, Mariah. Any questions for Mariah before we move on? I don't see anybody. Cool. Is anybody here from St. Joseph? I don't see anybody. Do we have a report?
I
from-
did reach out to Kathy Greaves and
Mhm.
she resigned a week ago.
That's what I thought was happening. Does she have a replacement, or are they still
She said,
restructuring? 'Cause I know they
not
were
to my knowledge, any info you need to share can go to mbobalik@yahoo.com. I'll put that in the chat.
Okay. Good to know. Thanks for joining us, Tim. Okay, so nothing from St. Joseph that we have available. Anyone wish to provide a report from Van Buren? Rick?
Yeah, so, and then Mike, you can jump in if you want. We had a meeting, Van Buren Dems met this past Wednesday. We're going through some transition as well. Annie Brown was our chair, but she has stepped aside because she's now a candidate. Our new chair, his name is John Wagner. And Eleanor, I'll make sure I give you his information. Make sure you have his contact information so he can be invited to these meetings from now on. And I apologize, I maybe should have done that ahead of time, but I thought somebody else would have done that, but I'll make sure you get John's contact information. Just a few highlights. We did have 3 guests at our meeting on Wednesday. Joseph Alfonso, Annie Brown, and Joy Andrews all spoke, addressed the group a little bit, talking about themselves as candidates and the office that they are seeking. We are working on updating our website. We're going to restructure our meeting schedule and to be a little bit more efficient. We hope that that will allow people to be a little bit more focused on what they want to do and attending meetings. Same thing with our committee structure. I already mentioned Doug Haltras, our candidate recruitment campaigns committee chair. He's very active, doing some great work. Finance committee is active as well. And then encouraging folks that attend our meeting to run for office. And we too, I can't remember who just, maybe it was Mariah was just speaking about precinct delegates to really focus there. I had the opportunity to attend a training. Kent County Democrats did what they call precinct captains, which I thought was very interesting. I attended their Zoom or their webinar training Zoom meeting yesterday. So I'll share some of that out with the Van Buren group and then maybe to this group eventually as well. And then Gail Patterson Gladney is running again for County Commission. District 1, I think, is Gail's district, and in terms of County Commission, not aware of any other Dems that are running at this point for County Commission. And I think that that's everything to share. That's just some highlights from our most recent meeting. But Mike, if you had anything else.
I wasn't at the meeting. All I'm doing is trying to keep sending out emails. I've had some personal issues and was out of the loop for a couple of weeks there.
Jill, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out if you had connected with Jared Polanowski about District 39.
In terms of inviting him to meeting or anything like that, is that what you mean, Jill?
Well, just because he has some interest in in running for office, and he's in the far northeast corner of the district, and it's primarily a Van Buren district. And when he approached me, we chatted on Facebook Messenger, and he says, you know, like, I'm interested if they want me to run. But, you know, so he just needs to know if you guys want to support him, because he's not interested in, you know, like being in a primary or anything. And he wants to know, you know, if people would like him to run, kind of.
Yeah, I can, I shared the information with our new chair, with John. I'm not sure if he reached out, but I will follow up for sure. So
Fine.
Jared's thinking about it, right? You said?
Yeah, I mean, well, you just need to meet him.
Okay. Yep.
He's what you see is what you get. He's, you know, like he's a gun owner, so he thinks like he's not welcome in the party, except that, you know, we have lots of Democrats in rural Michigan that own guns. So, you know, he's not a far left person. He's kind of got more moderate positions, but I wouldn't consider him a moderate necessarily.
Okay.
And yeah, he just needs to know, you know, if you guys are interested in him running, because he has an interest. And when he reached out to me, he didn't really even know what district he would be running in. I mean, I think he
Okay.
thought he'd be running against Mary Whiteford, but she's term limited, number one. And
Right.
number two, her husband's running, but he's not in the same district as any of us.
Gotcha.
because
Yep.
He's over there in Casco. So I think he
Yep.
was he has some interest in being politically active, and he just needs to figure out if it's a fit there.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think you're the perfect person to meet with him first, frankly.
Okay, I'll check it. Yep, absolutely. I'll check in with him. Thanks.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay, cool. Hey, Kathleen, thank you for being here. We now have quorum. So we can very quickly go back and do all of our approvals and we can vote on the stuff in our agenda going forward. Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Kathleen. So really quick, obviously we've been going through our agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, I saw Naomi, your hand, so you can be the second, if that's okay with you. Excellent. Any discussion about the agenda? Seeing none, say aye to approve the agenda.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cool. Thank you all. So the agenda is approved. We don't have any minutes. Okay, so we'll just keep going on to our agenda. So we've had the report of counties, state party report. Corey, if you would like to give us an update, please.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick update. I'm sure many of you already know much of this information, but the MDP endorsement convention will be April 9th, Saturday, April 9th. And that'll be in Detroit. It'll be a hybrid event. If things continue to trend the way they are with COVID, we will be able to meet in person at the TCF Center, used to be called Cobo Center. And so maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can all meet in person once again. And of course, please make sure that your MDP membership is up to date, at least 30 days before the convention. And unless you're already a precinct delegate, and then the 30-day deadline does not apply to you. And then also the state party is having the DNC is actually having a state party boot camp, and that will be February 24th. The deadline for that is February 24th, excuse me, to sign up for that. And then the event will be February 26th and February 27th, that weekend. And it's tailored towards candidates, but campaign managers and campaign staff members are also welcome to attend that boot camp training. And then for people who are primarily for college students, but also high school students as well, the one campaign is having a spring organizing boot camp, and they extended the deadline for that to register for that to February 22nd. And that will be, they'll have two boot camps, one in Ingham County, which will be March 8th through the 12th. And then the one in Wayne County will be March 15th to the 20th, and that'll be from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. those days, with a lunch break in between. And people who are registered for that event and attend will be paid $500 for their attendance. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you for those updates. Any questions, comments, concerns for Corey? I've got a copy of that email, Jill. I can forward it to you if you want. Okay, I see no questions, comments, concerns. Thank you, Corey. Really appreciate it. Okay, next on our agenda. I don't believe we have any unfinished business except for redistricting, which is kind of just an ongoing conversation. So we'll go ahead to new business. Let me go ahead and share my screen here really quick. We have received a request from Tyler Barron, who's representing ELPC, the Environmental Law and Policy Center. They're just asking for organizations to sign on for support of a initiative that they're doing. Let me share my email from him. So basically, they're looking for support from the Environmental Law and Policy Center, looking for support from Michigan organizations to support new wilderness areas in Michigan. So basically, the only thing we have to do is say, hey, you know, we support what you're doing and we want our name on the list. It's fairly straightforward. You know, ecologically, wilderness is very good for everyone, animals, people, environment. So what I was asking with this is just whether or not we feel putting our name on this list in support of this is worth it. Open for discussion. Mariah, I see your hand.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would be in support of, and if we want a motion, I'm happy to make that motion of the 6th Congressional District supporting this. The Kalamazoo Dems have already endorsed this. Tyler King spoke to us a few months ago for our speakers series, and our membership voted unanimously to endorse it. So I would move that we endorse it as a 6th Congressional Committee.
Excellent. Thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, Naomi, I'll second.
Thank you, Naomi. Any further discussion on this? Questions? I can go around their website. The link is elpc.org. That's in the agenda that you received.
App Store needs your attention.
But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I believe that the area that they're trying to support at the moment is in the UP, so it's not really adjacent to us, but it is a very important wilderness area. There's national forest up there. Very important that that gets preserved. Kathleen, I see your hand.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm on my cell phone. I haven't done it this way before. We are always akin to our local tribe, and I strongly would support that any efforts to preserve wilderness areas, be they the UP or in other parts, we should support. So I just as another voice of support.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So any other discussion? We can go ahead to the vote on this agenda item. I don't see anybody else. Okay. All in favor of adding our names to the list in support of wilderness areas in Michigan, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Awesome. Motion passes. Huzzah. I will let Tyler know to put our name on the list. Very much appreciate all of you. Let's go. So we also received a request from Marilyn Kelly, who's running for Wayne State Board of Governors. Let me pull that up. So I received an email from her. She sent along a resume, which I included in the email with the invitation to this meeting. If you did not receive that, just let me know. I can forward it to you again. So here's her very brief thing. I'll just read it out really quick. She's the outgoing chair of the board and is completing the last of the 8-year term that the party nominated her for in Michigan voters in 2014. And her endorsement has been supported by the Michigan Federation of Teachers. She'd like to serve a second term because she's committed to the well-being of Wayne as a former student and graduate of the law school, where she now teaches as a distinguished jurist in residence. She brings to the job board member many years of experience on various boards with lifelong membership in the Michigan Democratic Party. In addition to securing the party's support in the past for the Wayne board, it's been her pleasure and honor to have been the party's nominee twice for the Michigan Supreme Court, where she was elected and served for 16 years, and twice for the Michigan State Board of Education, where she was elected and served for 12 years. Her resume is in here. She wasn't able to make the meeting today, but we can invite her to our next meeting, which would most likely be on March 19th, I believe. That's our next scheduled district meeting. If you'd like to review this, again, I said, I can send you this resume of hers that she sent to me. If you missed it, any discussion on this? Do we want to vote without speaking to her? What's the thought of the group? And I don't know who else is running for Wayne State Board of Governors and whether or not we should endorse yet, knowing, because when's the filing deadline? Can someone remind me?
April 19.
Okay, so we've got lots of time. So yeah, we probably shouldn't start endorsing people until after the filing deadline, but I'll get in contact with her and see if we can't get her onto one of our meetings in the future. That'll probably be a better opportunity to actually discuss an endorsement at that time, if that's okay with everyone else.
Yeah, Eleanor.
Yes.
So our bylaws give the right to take action in between full district committee meetings to the executive committee. So we could have the executive committee endorse if we wanted to. On the other hand, are we still doing the every other month? So our next month's meeting would be a full district committee meeting.
To my understanding, yes. Plus we have to have the credentialing convention on or before the 19th. So that fits anyway. We need to have a full district meeting by then anyway. So it would be a district meeting regardless of our schedule.
So it just seems to me, even though by our bylaws, we have the flexibility, that it'd be more appropriate to have endorsements at a full district committee meeting. And Marilyn Kelly is one of our Democratic stalwarts going back many, many, many decades, her service on the Supreme Court. So I would be all in favor of endorsing her at the appropriate time.
Excellent. Yeah, and like I said, it would probably be best to have her come and speak with us, at least briefly, just so that we get all the information and have the opportunity to ask questions as well. So I just wanted to make sure that that was on our agenda so that we know that that's been requested of us, but we can table that for our next meeting, no problem. Next agenda item. So we need to have a local convention. So like Corey said, we've got the credentialing convention for the MDP on April 9th. We have to elect people to the various committees for that convention by March 19th. Our next scheduled district committee meeting of the whole is scheduled for March 19th, which is a Saturday, as normal. So we can sort of roll that up and have that as our local convention. We have, let's see, this one has been done. That's redistricting, that's boot camps. Let me stop sharing really quick and pull up the email. So I received lots of documents which were forwarded to you with the invitation to this meeting for planning this convention, basically the allotments for our committees. Pull that up. So that's basically the one agenda item that's super important for that meeting, is to elect people to the rules committee, the other committees that we have. Let me pull that up really quick. Does anyone have any concerns about the date, March 19th? That's our normally scheduled meeting. But if we turn that into our credentialing, is that a problem for anybody?
Eleanor, that's perfectly fine. I just want to say a word about what we've done in the past about this sort of thing, which is there is a suggested allocation by county that came from the state party, and they always give us that. And what we have done in the past is to pass those out to the county chairs, because it's maybe more people would be cumulatively at all the county meetings and say, yeah, I'll serve on a committee. And they then, it just seems it might be more effective to do it that way. And then if the county chairs can report back to you who's been elected.
Okay, that works great. That's perfect.
I think cumulatively there'd be more people involved that way than at one of our typical meetings.
Agreed, agreed. Okay, so this is the allocation that the MDP suggests. I will forward this to everybody again after this meeting is over. But yeah, other than that, this is what they sent out. And I can forward this email from Emily as well to everybody, though it says that she sent it to the county chair. So hopefully you all have received it as well. They've got the call to the April convention memo about how to and when to hold local conventions. But yeah, so we need to elect people to rules, platform, and resolutions. So yeah, that's pretty much all that we have to do for that. So we can organize that. Mark, do you mind if I send over an agenda once I've got that figured out, just to make sure that we're hitting all the bullet points for that meeting?
Sure, great.
Excellent, thanks. So I don't think there's anything to motion on this agenda item, just letting us know that it's happening. And then the next agenda item is there's a convention on April 9th. The MDP is going to send out more information about that. Corey, you said it's a hybrid, so there's still a virtual attendee option. Is that the case?
Yes, that's correct. From my understanding, it's going to be a hybrid convention. So there'll be the virtual component to it. And I also kind of wanted to add, because I know a lot of people get the endorsement convention confused with the nominating convention, which is usually in the summertime. So just for people who may be new, I know most of you already know what I'm about to say, but just the endorsement convention is where we're going to endorse nominees for our candidates for Secretary of State, Attorney General, our state school board, and then like we just talked about, the university boards, Wayne State, Michigan State, and U of M. And so, and our Supreme Court candidate. So that's what the endorsement convention is. And then in August, we'll have the nominating convention after the primary.
Cool. So I'm assuming that this is probably going to be very similar to all the other conventions that we normally have via the MDP, where we have our individual district meetings that day, and then there's the meeting of the whole for business of the MDP, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so pretty standard. Awesome, good to know. Anybody have any questions about that? Like I said, we've received an email, the call to convention from the MDP, and I'm happy to forward that to any of you if you did not receive it or would like more information, but any discussion on that while we are here? Okay, don't see any. So redistricting is the big elephant in the room. We've had really productive discussions about this previously at our meetings. I don't know how we want to keep going with this. Obviously, we've got people attending our meetings from Ottawa. Have we received any information about people to contact in Calhoun County? I have not received it.
I reached out to Beth Bird. She's the county chair for Calhoun. So I don't know for sure if I kind of feel like I don't think we invited her to this meeting, but I'll take that on to get a hold of her and get her pulled in, because I'm sure she wants to be part of this. So
cool, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, and please feel free to invite anybody that you know in Ottawa or Calhoun counties to our meetings. Obviously, the way that we're currently structured, they can't vote, but it is important that we talk to them, that we stay up to date, that we know what's going on in their areas, and that we support them as much as possible, because we have to get those candidates in seats this year, which is weird, but we can't like vote for stuff in their areas yet, which is just really strange. So yeah, we're kind of doing a very strange like dichotomy here, but we're doing our best. Kathleen, I see your hand.
No.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Not intentionally.
No worries. Just making sure. So yeah, I mean, we're basically doing what we can on redistricting. The floor is open for discussion, RE redistricting, anything else that we need to be doing. I think that we're doing the best that we can with the information that we have. The MDP did say that we can form subcommittees But again, we can't advertise that we're CD4 yet until we're officially restructured in February of next year. But yeah, any discussion for that? Floor's open, please.
Well, I think that Laura's second email about the transition helped. It helped me to understand it, because as an organization, a lot of things are done at the congressional district level, like state central delegates and such. And, you know, we can't change it until after. So that really makes it, helps me to understand that it makes more sense why we have to maintain the 6th district structure, even though we're moving into a different structure. So I definitely think it would be good. I don't know if we need a formal committee, but you know, I guess ideally we would have a CD4 committee and a CD5 committee, and then those committees could meet separately. And you know, I think the most not important, but I mean, the thing that we have to do as a CD6 is basically around money, and the voting. I mean, yes, voting on resolutions is, you know, valuable and important, but you know, the money and our money's kind of locked up because of, you know, the problems with losing the records. So, and I don't know, I guess we're not allowed to have a CD4 organization yet because it doesn't exist officially yet. So I kind of feel like we can just start operating. Our agenda can be CD4 even if we're not officially CD4 and CD5. But I think we need to decide what we want to do about CD4 and 5, and whether you know, do we have a business meeting to talk about the basics, and then we have a CD4 committee meeting where we talk about the future? I don't know. I'd be interested in what other people think.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm not sure of. I don't know if we can say we are CD4 and we're having a meeting yet.
We can have a CD4 committee meeting.
Yeah, that
we
we.
CD4 committee. So, you know, I feel like pivoting to the new from an organizational standpoint and an organizing standpoint is good. And I kind of would think that we want to get our business done that is CD6 specific, that is just around whatever we officially have to do as CD6, and invest more of our time in, you know, kind of beginning to create was it Naomi was on, and she said they were getting to know each other. So, you know, I liked that idea of getting together as a CD4 committee, you know, getting Beth Kelly and Tim and, you know, any of the leaders that they have in their groups together. Maybe we want to have a CD4 committee meeting, official committee meeting, and I could host it at the Plain Ransom Library. And maybe we could, oh, here's an idea. If we have CD6 official meetings every other month, and in the month in between, we have CD4 and CD5 committee meetings. But I don't know how many people we have. I mean, we have Naomi, we have Kathleen. St. Joe County is kind of in a problem right now. And then I guess, you know, the idea would be for Naomi and or Kathleen to reach out to Amy Scrima and see, because they have a South County, Berrien Dems have a South County group. And I think probably, you know, and then I would offer to those guys to, you know, to maybe get together. And then if I was CD5, I would be talking to all the people over to the east side along that. Yeah. And maybe you guys, maybe they would want to do that if we kind of coordinate it so that we're having our official CD6 meeting on, you know, like maybe next month, March is CD6, and then maybe in April we have a committee meetings and not have a CD6 meeting. Because I don't want to, I kind of don't want to add another layer of meetings. I don't know that there's value in having another layer of meetings. Maybe
What would we do
all-
with our executive committee meeting? Because that's normally what we're doing. Or would it be a different?
Well, there
weekend?
isn't a lot of difference between the executive committee and the meeting for everybody.
As a smaller group, but yeah, you're right.
But
It
I
depends
mean,
on what we want to
We
do.
don't have a lot more people that come to the whole meeting.
That's true.
So do we
Mark?
need an executive committee meeting? Can we just have a, a district? Because there's not a lot of difference in who shows up
Mhm.
at one meeting or the other. And maybe we don't need to, I mean, that's what we did in Allegan. I was trying to have a county committee meeting and then a membership meeting. And
Mhm.
it was the same people that were showing up at the county committee meeting. And it's like, yeah, I don't need to go to 2 meetings. If we're not going to be able to get a bigger audience, then I'm just going to say, we're just going to go back to having the one meeting. So we went back to having a business meeting, and we're going to have, like we're going to on the opportunity tour, we're doing the school board focus. We're just trying to keep our meeting really short and sweet, and we vote on these, we vote on that. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I think he said that he had to go. Rick, I see your
Saying
hand.
goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah, two things. First of all, if we talked about this same thing in the candidate recruitment campaigns committee meeting this morning. And in terms of focusing campaign strategy and that sort of thing, CD4, CD5 and whatnot. I was hoping Amy was going to be on, because we're going to ask Barian to send a new representative to that committee, because Joey Andrews is the current, and just to keep things from getting awkward. And then if Mariah can find a representative from Kalamazoo to attend those meetings, we can have that discussion as well, and maybe even bring back recommendations as to how we might want to approach it. I like Jill's ideas a lot. I think that would be something that would be valuable. And Helen does such a great job representing Allegan in our committee meetings that share all of that with her, and we can discuss it further. The second question, I was hoping to get it before Mark had to leave, is does anyone think there'd be any value in creating an independent PAC to support candidates in CD4 and 5? I mean,
are we able to do that?
Anybody can create a PAC for whatever they
Anybody
want.
can
True.
create that. Right. So, because we started, when I say we, myself, Wayne Deerings in Van Buren County as well, we started doing a little research as to what it takes to formulate a PAC, both at a state level or federal. So we're doing some of that. We're doing some of that research, but I just didn't know if people thought that would be valuable in terms of, like, if we wanted to try to fundraise. I don't know. So I just
Yeah.
put that out there.
I mean, talk to Mark Ludwig, because I think he was instrumental in them doing that for the rural caucus. If not Mark, then Kathy, who's the chair of the rural caucus. They recently did that, finalized all of that. My question would be, are we allowed to take the money that we have and give it to them? Or are we still we can't do anything because of our financial situation? Like, if we
Well-
write it down and we know that we need to report this when we can report, can we just like liquidate our assets into that PAC?
Well, I know we have fines that we have to pay for all the filings that we've missed. Considering that we don't, considering we can't file because we don't have, the historical information, I think we need to consider closing the account. Because then we at least aren't guilty of, I mean, in hindsight, and I wasn't really aware of all the facts about it when it first started. In hindsight, we should have closed the account immediately when we discovered that we didn't have the records and we couldn't report, because then we wouldn't have missed all these reporting deadlines and gotten, additional $500 fines. I mean, we can't close the bank account, but I think we have to, and I guess I would say check with the compliance gal was on here last month.
Heather,
Whoever-
yeah.
Yeah. So I would check with her I mean, I would imagine they would be advising us if we should close it, but I mean, I would think like we should try and close that sucker so that we can stop the bleeding. And then they can tell us what they want us to do to make it right, that we can't report, I mean, we have the records of all the money we've collected since the data was lost. And I think I should probably stop my donation because I don't know, it's kind of, a mess. But I think that we do need to create a PAC. And I think we need to figure out, it sounds like Rick's already on it and people are already on it, but I think we should create a Friends of Michigan's 6th Congressional District federal PAC. And yeah, and then start putting money in that and then just let that other thing sort itself out.
Jill, can I ask, or Eleanor, can I ask another question? I'm sorry, did somebody
Yeah.
else have something?
Go ahead, go ahead.
So, because John Hoadley just started this PAC, right? It's called the West Michigan Progress PAC.
Mhm.
Is anybody been in contact with John about that, or what the intent is of that? Jill, do you know?
Well, I will venture a guess, and I will say that probably there is a need for PACs for people who have way too much money and they can't put it someplace because they get maxed out. So that is one of the major purposes of PACs, is to give people who have a lot of money
Right.
someplace to put
Place
it.
to park it, right? So
Yeah,
just
I don't know that we want to tell people to put money in that instead of the 4th district, you know. I think we
Right.
want to stay focused on the 4th district, have something that people can donate to.
Sure.
And if that's put together, I think there would need to be some understanding of who's going to decide how the money gets dispersed.
Right, because
And
John, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, one question I have, and I don't know the answer, and I know I teed Helen up to ask it, is for our federal PAC, do we have to only donate to federal candidates? Or I'm not saying we want to open the door and donate to state or House or Senate candidates, but they're state candidates. Does
I don't
anybody
think
know?
we're limited. I'm
don't know.
fairly certain previously, and Mike, Mark would probably be more knowledgeable about this, and I can ask Paul too. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we've donated to state candidates before from our PAC.
And I thought we had only given our money to federal, like we maxed it out to Matt Longjohn and
Yeah, I think that was just because we had the money to, and he needed it because Fred Upton is a giant workhorse. But
Well, I'll just say, I mean, local parties, like county parties, can't give to federal candidates without having a federal account. So
Right.
it would make sense to me that the 6th congressional does like that. That's where the break is between federal and state candidates, because we can only give to state level candidates and lower. And so that's why, in theory, the congressional district exists in part is to give money to congressional candidates. Yeah.
makes sense.
Mariah,
And
are
we've
you-
given, I was just going to say, we've given money to our county parties too. I think we're able to do that, and then they give it on behalf of. I think maybe that's where it ends up.
Right. And I'll just say, since I kind of chimed in too, the West Michigan Progress PAC associated with whatever John Hoadley has actually been around for a number of years. It's just been inactive, and John has talked to a lot of folks here in Kalamazoo County about it. And just to answer the question, the objective of that PAC is to spend money getting progressive candidates elected in more swing districts, and trying to push the needle from like a purple district and helping rural voters see the appeal of a more progressive candidate in places where they might not otherwise think, is how it has been kind of billed to people here in Kalamazoo County.
Is it a federal or a state PAC?
That's a great question. I'm not sure.
So Mariah, have you had conversations with John about that?
I haven't. I just know people who have told me what he told them when he called asking for money.
Gotcha. So my question is, would we be better off focusing people there rather than trying to form our own? Because it says the group intends to invest in candidates across the 10-county region, from Muskegon to Berrien counties, and from the Lakeshore east to Kent, Berry, Kalamazoo, and St. Joseph.
Right.
In terms of yeah, go ahead.
So what I'll say about that, I mean, is I don't think there's anything wrong with that in theory. The only difference being that like we as a body wouldn't have any autonomy over where that money goes. I mean, that PAC has a president and a treasurer. And so we, at the end of the day, if that money is going to be spent somewhere outside of the 6th district or whatever the 4th district will be, but also happens to be in one of those 10 counties, we don't get a say.
Thank you. Appreciate them.
Yeah, I mean, starting our own PAC to do this. CD5 is the new bottom of the state district, correct? Right. That is such a weird district. Yeah, so, you know, these are really great ideas. Anything that we can do to financially support our candidates is important, obviously, since especially because we're hamstrung financially right now. That's a really good idea, Rick. Do you want me to email you, Heather, Ken, Jill, do you want to be in this loop?
Sure, you can keep me in there.
Okay.
I think
just
we need to
start
find
that
out if it's possible to close the, I mean, not like we're trying to get away with something, but, you know, like to stop the bleeding. Because it's not functional right now. And we need a way to put people's money into something that is functional. And
Well, yeah.
why keep racking up $500 fines?
Yeah, we need to find a method where we can say, look, we're going to be done in February regardless, because we would have to transfer it out anyway. We need to focus on filing the ones that we haven't filed, fixing those fines. If we close the PAC, can we close the PAC? If we close the PAC, will that prevent us from having more fines piling up? That's questions to ask. Yeah, okay. I'll send an email after this meeting with all of you, including Ken and Heather, and we'll just start that discussion.
Is Ken the one that's taking the lead on this?
He's our treasurer.
He's our treasurer.
Right, because it's a little, I'll just mention this, it's a little concerning that he doesn't show up to meetings, or at least provide a report. And it seems like a lot of extra work for Eleanor. But I don't know, you know, in terms of trying to do some research or whatever.
Well, we had that problem with the last treasurer. He didn't show up to meetings either, and then he lost all the records. What?
This is Ken Wilcutt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me talk to him.
Thank you.
Yep.
I had several people say that they didn't receive the email for this meeting, so it's possibly not his fault.
I did get it. I just lost it in all my other emails.
I also know
No
that Ken just lost his job and is in a new job. He lost his labor or his business manager election for the plumbers and pipe fitters. So he's been pretty busy lately, but I'll reach out to him, see what's going on. And then my only question would be just to clarify the language. Is the language such that it says we can only expend funds on candidates running for the 6th congressional district, or is it that the funds must be spent in the existing congressional district? Because I think that makes a difference. Because if it's the latter, we can still spend money on candidates as long as those activities are being conducted within the boundaries of the current, you know, jurisdiction of this committee, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of a technicality, right?
Yeah,
Right.
the problem
But I
is
think
we
it's an
gotta-
important distinction, though.
That might
And
require
I think-
asking MP.
I
Sorry.
think we need to know whether, so I understand that we don't know, there was a period of time where we don't know where the donations came from. Right. That we received because we lost the donor records. But we would have all the ActBlue records, so the only thing we'd be missing is any checks that were written. And and I guess any cash, but I don't know how you're not supposed to give cash over $20 or something like that. But I do think that we really need, I don't know if maybe we could put that on the agenda for next meeting to have Heather come and just lay it all out for us so that we can understand what's going on. And it would be really good to know whether we can close that account. It would be really kind of cruel if we're not allowed to close the account and yet they're going to continue to fine us if we don't report. And I don't know if we can report all the donations we received in the reporting period, even if we can't report where they came from prior to that, because yeah, I don't know, I don't understand, but it's really frustrating that and I understand we can't know for sure the fines, but then Heather last time even said, well, they know what the fine's going to be. It's $500 every time you don't file. So we actually know exactly how much fines we owe. We just don't know what to do about the fact that we can't report accurately on the records that we lost. So yeah, but I do feel like we should, well, there's a couple ways to go about this. We don't have to raise money as a 6th district. You know, we could just point everybody to Joseph's campaign account. You know, if we had another candidate running, then there would be, you know, then there, and we'll know by April. So I think maybe we just put this on the back burner until after the filing deadline in April. And if Joseph is the only candidate, then I think we just amplify the candidates recruiting, you know, advertise their act blues and promote their fundraising events they have, and then that gets us out of the middle of it, you know, and then we can just focus on organizing. And then I think it simplifies a lot of things.
That's also a really good idea. Yeah, if we can't accept donations and we're not allowed to restructure before February, an independent PAC, I think, is probably our best idea because it can probably donate to everyone. Second idea, what you just stated, Jill, I think just promoting our candidates and saying donate to them instead of donating to us because we can't do anything with the money that you're giving us at the moment. That's also a really good approach. So yeah, let's.
Well, in a PAC or a federal account or a state account, because I don't know that our state account is considered a PAC, and I don't know that our federal account that the 6th district has is considered a PAC. I'm not totally sure about that, but I do think that there was talk at one point about that this, you know, somebody proposed that the 6th district get a federal PAC, which makes me think that the account we have isn't a PAC.
It is.
That it's a committee. Yeah. So I think there's a difference, and it just creates another responsibility to have to report it accurately. Somebody's got to be responsible for it. And I don't think anybody wants to do any of that.
No.
So I would be honestly, I would be totally against, unless somebody stepped up and said, oh, hey, I want to be the treasurer and run this PAC. I would say we just don't have it. We just don't worry about it. We push the money to the candidates and we get out of the you know, fundraising business, at least until next February. I would be strongly in favor of doing that. Do we want to set up a meeting? I guess, do we have to formally create a committee for the CD4?
I don't know. How do we create? I think we can just ad hoc create committees. We don't have to like vote to do that. We just
Maybe
say,
look at the
"Create-
bylaws.
create."
Yeah, maybe just look at the bylaws and see what the process is. Maybe the chair could just create it, and then I would encourage you to create it. Do you want me to see, well, we'll be together. No, wait, this is it, February. Do you want me to see if the Plainville Library is available for our meeting next month? I'm game to get together.
Yeah, we need to have that district convention next month, though. I don't know if that would be more conducive over Zoom or in person.
Well, they do have a computer. They do have a monitor in the boardroom. And I think at this point, with the number of people we've got participating, I think we could all easily fit in the boardroom at the Ransom Library, and they do have a screen. And we did it pretty successfully when we had our meeting there last month. I mean,
I'll be honest, I'm still kind of iffy about meeting in person personally, but that's just me.
Okay. All right. Well, I do think it would be nice to get, I guess let's wait till next month. Let's form the committee for CD4 and CD6, and then maybe we can get together in person in April.
Yeah, I'll check the bylaws and I'll let you know before the end of the day what we need to do. If we have to have it at a meeting, we can do that as part of our business during our meeting
Right.
next month.
I think we should plan on doing that. That's what I think.
Yeah, and if it's going to be a meeting of the whole anyway, this is a great thing to discuss with our general membership if we get more people to show up anyway. Because I mean, it's their money. So what we do with it is important. But yeah, no, these are all great ideas. So I suggest after this meeting, I'll send an email with me, Rick, you, Heather, Ken, and we can say, hey, here's what we were discussing in our meeting. Can we create a PAC that can just donate to anybody? Can we transfer funds from our current organization into that PAC to sort of free up money that we already have? Is that allowed? Another question, can we close our current committee accounts so that we're not missing additional filing deadlines? Is that something that we can do? Other than that, like just open the discussion. What are our options here? Because we know we don't have the documentation. More than likely, given the current situation, we're not going to get the documentation before February when we have to restructure anyway. So like, what does that do for the CD4 going forward? Can we, like what happens to the money that we have? These are all really good questions that we just need to discuss. So we can sort of have an ad hoc committee until I can figure out how to create a committee officially. But if we can create a committee officially, then that's created. But I'll check the bylaws on that. So any other discussion on this? Naomi.
I have a really dumb question. I haven't followed this whole saga of the state account, but if people donated via Act Blue, you have those records. And
my
if
knowledge,
people wrote checks, when were those checks cashed? If they were, the bank account will show the check.
We moved the bank account though.
But you should still be able to get the records from the.
Still get the records. I mean, you open
bank.
up.
Theoretically,
I open
yes.
up my account, and any check, you can click on it and see who wrote the check, and what it was for.
Yeah. The only issue I think would be the extraneous information that we would need from those individuals. Though we could contact them if
Well,
we had
that's
their
true.
names.
Yeah, that's
Right,
true.
but I mean, if you know the name of the person, I don't think we got an overwhelming number of donations.
Yeah, no, nor do I. It would have been, well, I mean, maybe because it was an election season, so we may have.
But most people do their donations through Act Blue.
I would think so. Yeah, so in that case,
The number of checks that we would receive would be minimal.
or
So I
cash, yeah.
guess I'm starting to question why we can't reconstruct the records.
I have no
and get
idea.
this sorted out.
I have no idea. It may also be where we expended money that those records may be
But we
missing.
wouldn't, I mean, the bank, that'd be even easier because when you make a deposit, it just says $200 unless you have a copy of the check. But when you write a check, you know who you wrote it to. It's in,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I
I
don't
would
know.
think.
I don't know how we expended the money. If we wrote a check, then that makes sense. We could say, oh, look, we
Well,
we
how
wrote
else
a
are you
check
gonna
to
get
that
the
one.
money out of the checking account without writing a check?
Direct transfer, another Act Blue payment that would just say Act Blue. I don't know. I have
I'll
no
just say,
idea.
Eleanor, if I might, I see your face right now, and the KCDP is currently switching banks and replacing our treasurer and trying to do financial reviews from the last 3 years. And like, in theory, yes, this stuff should be very easy to access, but at the end of the day, it's absolutely effing impossible to get the bank to be helpful. And like
Oh,
tracking
no.
down individual expenditures is so hard and time consuming. So like, I think, yeah, in principle, it's possible if someone wants to sit down and do 40 hours of work a week for a month and a half. But that is what it will take because it's a huge pain. So I recognize that.
That sucks, yeah. Yeah, because I don't know which bank we were with previously. Ken received those funds and transferred them into the bank that we're currently with. So we've got all of that information. But yeah, I don't know, does a bank let you see accounts that have been closed? Do we have access to those accounts for
Yeah,
that?
Well, it depend- I would have to think you could get them if you were a signatory on that account, even if. it's
Yeah. I don't know that anyone who's currently here, maybe Mark was.
Well,
But yeah, I don't
Paul
know
or
who
Mark,
were the
I
same.
mean, Paul was covering when, whoever the guy was that was the treasurer that had the
Grant.
records get. What?
Mhm. Yeah, theoretically. So, okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questions up in the air. So Ken and Heather may be able to help us answer these more effectively because I don't know off the top of my head right now. But
Oh, yeah, I know.
these are all really great ideas, really good suggestions. Because we need to get our money out so that we can support our candidates. That's the really important part. Okay.
And stop wasting money on fines. So.
Exactly. Okay, so that's the end of our scheduled new business. Is there any other new business that anybody wanted to bring up before we go to good and welfare? I don't see anything. Okay, floor is open for good and welfare. Mariah, I see your hand.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, real quick, just want to say thanks for everyone in the conversation today. I know I haven't been around much in the last, well, since I've been chair, mostly because I work on Saturdays and I run a small business. But after talking with Jill specifically in the last month or so, it was really important to me to get on and make sure that Kalamazoo has a good representation at these meetings. So just want to make sure everyone knows it's my objective to be around more often and get more Kalamazoo members at these meetings. And thanks for everyone who's been doing the work in my absence.
Thanks, Mariah. We appreciate you too. Anybody else? Good and welfare. Last.
Tell me, how's it like being a mom?
Oh goodness. It is overwhelming. It's fun. It's a lot more work than I was expecting, but it's very fulfilling. And I'm very fortunate that he's a very well-behaved baby. So
That's wonderful. Of course he is, because you are really a well-organized and
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I got Beth Kelly's email. I'm forwarding the invite to this meeting to her, and I'm letting her know you'll add her to our distro.
Perfect.
I think we in Cass County are not happy about leaving the district, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that South State district is so strange. It's such a weird organization. I don't know. Yeah. It is what it is, I suppose. Rick, I see your hand.
Kathy Greaves.
Yes.
Kathy, can you hear me?
Oh, that was Kathleen. Kathy Greaves isn't on the call.
Okay, sorry. Wrong person. My apologies.
Well, you can share.
No, that's right. I'm just trying to increase our numbers on that candidate recruitment committee.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right. Anything else? Announcements, good welfare?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All righty. Then we are adjourned at 11:59. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. So yeah, big credentialing meeting next month. So we'll have information about that out as soon as possible, since we need as many people to attend as possible.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.